Okay, so I promised doing a video to show how we set up all of our Ghetto HugelKultur beds. So we have one left, and we're going to show you real quick how we put it together. We actually had these custom dollies made on these. You can see they're all welded together and pretty. But last minute, we were like, fuck it, let's throw 5 lights right here. And so we did. And so we were short on dollies, so we had to throw some together. And this is just made out of Unistrut. This is something you can throw together. Every single thing on this is from Home Depot. And it's super easy to make, and it's really not that expensive. And this thing rolls with one finger. So that's the dolly on this one. And then we throw a plastic pallet on top of it. And if you want, you can use things like chain link fence if you want to be super cheap, or get a cattle panel and just cut a cattle panel to the size on this and drop it in there. But we had these pallets anyways, and so that's what we're using. And you can see it's aerated. And then we just throw the bed on top of that. And then we'll start filling the bed. Okay, now we got the bed set up. We're gonna put our logs in here. We didn't use a ton of big logs. We have a few. These are all from trees that fell from that recent ice storm. So this was all stuff that just was on the ground. And so we kind of been just putting 5 pieces in each bed as far as the big stuff. And, you know, I don't think there's a hard rule on what kind of wood you can use. Maybe some super sappy pine I'd stay away from, but other than that, if you have things like aspen and stuff like that, that'd be good to use. Only thing with aspen is they like to try to root if it's not fully been dried out, so that'd be kind of interesting. That'd be a good experiment. So, logs, big logs, laid in the bed, and then we'll come in and we'll throw our sticks in next. And you can do, I would say, if you're not doing soil beds, this size sticks, you know, these little branches and stuff like that would be great for 30s. And really, if I was going to do smaller stuff like 30s, I'd get stuff this size and cut it so that you kind of line the bottom of your pot, and then pile up some of this smaller stuff on it. We have a lot to fill, so we're not going too crazy on the wooden branches, and that's why we're doing a combination of things with the logs and then the branches and then the mulch. So we put the mulch in next after we put the branches in, and you can see kind of how much mulch. And again, if you're only doing a few beds and you have a whole bunch of wood, you know, fill this whole bitch up. You know, put a whole solid layer on the bottom. But we had a lot to do, so that's pretty good. Here, let's get around the edges here better. That's pretty good. Okay. Huh? Yep, alfalfa and hay. Let's do the hay first. So then we're going to put some hay in. And this is a seedless Bermuda that we've been selling for a couple of years now. We use it as our mulch. We sell it on our website. It's in the store. And again, since we don't have the ability and the time to fill all these solid with wood, we're trying to do the best we can and not waste a whole lot of time. And so that's probably good on that. And then next we'll put some alfalfa in here. And since as the wood breaks down, it can lock up nitrogen, and your plants can look like they're having deficiencies. and they're really not. It's just the nitrogen locked up. So we throw a little alfalfa in here just as a little help with while the wood breaks down. There's going to still be plenty of nitrogen if that ends up being an issue. I don't think it will be. And that's about that. And now we just throw a bunch of soil in it. And so these are 4x4 beds. I think the calculation says 0.89 yards. Even with the wood and everything we put in here, we end up putting in about 17 bags in it, which is just shy of a yard, because we fill it up really to the tip top and pack it down some, because after you water it, it's going to settle, and after the worms get in there and it goes for a cycle or two, you're going to get a couple inch settle. So I like to fill them up as high as I can, and I know for a lot of people money is prohibitive, and you know, it dictates what you can do, and luckily we can just go get more soil if we need it. So we put it all the way up to the top. And obviously your choice of soil is important in this situation, and of course you want to use redbud, but we'll fill it up part way and then we'll tamp it down, and then we'll continue to fill it up to the top, and then we'll show you what we do after that. All right, so we're about 10 bags in, and this is where we go and we try to level it out a little bit, and then we start tamping it down some, and then we'll go through and we'll top it off, and then we'll tamp it down one more time, and if we need to add an extra bag or something like that, we can. But you know, at face value, look, we're 10 bags in and you're like, oh wow, it's almost full. But once we tamp it down and do what we need to do, this is definitely not even close to where it's going to end up being. All right, so now you can see we tamped it down. We're going to go in and top it off, and we'll add, we were at 10 bags, we'll add like 5 or 6 bags, and we'll tamp that down, and then we'll top it off to the very top, and I'll show you at what height it is in this living soil bed once we get to that point. Okay, so just to show you, this next bag will be number 16. And we have not tamped it down again at all. And at face value, again, look, I mean, it looks full, it looks like we're done. It actually might look over full. But once we tamp it down, we're gonna be able to add another bag, and we'll be exactly where we wanna be, because like I said, it'll all settle and we'll lose another 2 inches or so. Okay, so we got it very topped off here. You can see how high it is. This is 17 bags in a 4x4, and we've tamped it down multiple times. And so at this point, we add our mulch on top, which again, we're using that seed-free Bermuda hay we've been selling forever. And we just want to make it so that really not much soil, or if any, you know, if possible, no soil is showing. And that'll help us as we water it. It'll slow the water, and so it can soak in, because since this is, you know, our soil is a peat-based soil, it can sometimes take a little bit to get totally wet. Okay, and now we add rocks, and these rocks are all from Oklahoma. They're not from this property. The wood was from this property, but the rocks are from Oklahoma. And so the mulch is from Oklahoma, the rocks are from Oklahoma, and the wood is from Oklahoma. And these rocks, we actually have a giant blowtorch, and we heat all these rocks up just to make sure there's no little critters in there, but it usually isn't an issue, but it's just kind of a safety measure. And so we put these rocks on top just to give the critters a place to hang out. So they'll go under it. So worms and roly-polies and road beetles and mites and things like that. You know, just think about if you've ever had a piece of wood in your yard and you lift that piece of wood up and all the shit that's laying under it. Well, these rocks, they're that piece of wood. and we're hoping a whole lot of shit will be laying under them when it's all said and done. And so at this point, we're going to water this in. We're going to add some cover crop seeds, and then we would be adding rove beetles and Hypoaspis miles and nematodes. We will water nematodes in, but we've just added hundreds of thousands of predators, and so we'll probably just rob some from the other beds and put them over here. But that's pretty much how we set it up, and the cover crop will start coming in. We'll get some plants planted in here, and that's just the basics of setting up our Ghetto HugelKultur beds.